All right, on to one of the most important discussions to have, education. And of course, with the results just out, it's a perfect time to have it. Matric results almost always cause a flurry of emotions around the time of their release. So it's one of the only times when the state of South African education system is really under the spotlight.
Delphino Machikicho from Ikamva Youth joins us today for the important conversation. Now connect with us online. If you've got any questions for Delphino, tweet us at Afternoon Chat using the hashtag Afternoon Express or comment on our Facebook page. Welcome to the Loft, Delphino.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And what a perfect time to have you on the couch, because the conversation right now is Matric results and what the next step is. But of course, with this conversation, the obvious comes up. Where is the state of the South African education system? Are we a lot further than we used to be, or are we kind of regressing?
You know, that's a very difficult question. Should be aimed at the president, not me.
Oh, well, that's an invite, Mr. President.
Mr. President should come and sit on the couch. I think if we unpack all the numbers, you know, because there's a lot of numbers coming, 81.3, 73, dropout rate, all these numbers that are coming out. But if you really take out the numbers and look at the crux of what's happening in the education system, we can still see that the inequality is still progressing. Yes, by number we can see learners are passing better. The learners that sit pass better. 3%, there's a gradual increase.
But
you can
are they
see
actually
that.
marking a passing better, or is the work getting easier for more people to pass?
I actually don't think so. If I bring the maths past the paper that was just written now, it is very difficult. I tried it, kind of vexed me a little.
Because I was looking at a lot of the stats, and it is quite alarming. Like, Pali and I were going over some of them, and they took like a lot of teachers that teach 11 and 12-year-olds mathematics, and they sat down to do the tests that their students would be doing, and 79% of them did not do well. They did less than what they expected the students to do.
You know, that's even
terrifying.
That gives me goosebumps. Every time we
Guys.
speak about these stats, I just get goosebumps, because what if your child happens to be in a class that is taught by one of the 79 who aren't quite there with the maths?
Yeah.
You know, so actually, like, on the other side, we really have teachers that are putting in the hours. I think if we look at the context, I think it's a lot more important. We've got teachers that are teaching in rural schools where learners are coming in from broken down families. They're heading their families. They don't have time, anybody to support them. When they come to class, they're hungry. The class is 50 learners. And the content, the curriculum keeps changing, and they have to keep up with it. Technology is moving, they have to keep up with it. And they're putting in so much work and so much effort. So we really need to say congratulations and well done to the teachers.
Exactly. Last week, we actually had a whole lot of South African entrepreneurs on the couch that had done so well, and a lot of them had come from child-led homes that had just, you know, beat all the odds and really did achieve. So it's so good to know that there are places out there supporting these kids. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do at Ikamva Youth.
So Ikamva Youth started in 2003, and we work primarily in the township areas, rural areas, where there's not enough access to information, not enough good quality education. The schools are struggling, the teachers are struggling. So we think that's where we are needed. So that's where we go in, we bring in our amazing volunteers from universities, colleges, students that have made it to university from the same community, and we say congratulations to you guys, and they're the ones that have led us to have an 85% pass rate as Ikamva Youth in 2019. They are our biggest funders. Those volunteers come back and tutor learners in the afternoon and on Saturdays as well. There's also a lot of mentorship to make sure that by the time the learner gets to grade 12, they're equipped, they're ready for the after matric life.
Yes, Delphino, and that is exactly what I feel like is missing in so many schools and in so many homes, where people wait until it's a matric now, a matriculant, and there's crisis mode. Everyone is trying to get the kid back up to scratch as to, are they at the level that they need to be? So how does Ikamva make sure that the work starts way before matric?
Yeah, so that's the big part, and we have to start early. And like you're saying, it has to start, it's not the last year of matric. You can't do everything in the last year. It has to start from grade 8, where learners are put in their strengths. Subject selection is very important. I think you're going to have a conversation about that. And there's also the important part about getting the basics right. Because when the learners get to grade 10, they're still at grade 7 level. So the teachers at grade 10 need to get you back up to grade 10. So every time we're moving on learners that are on the negative. So it's very difficult. So what we do is we work with learners from grade 8, the tutoring support. And we also bring in professionals that come and support, one in terms of psychosocial support. Because if you're coming in from a broken home, you're coming in from these difficulties in the communities, you need somebody who's going to listen to you, because many a times learners don't even have somebody who sits and asks, how are you doing?
Sure. You mentioned earlier that the divide is still too great with what, the pass rates and the education level are. Why is it like that? And what is needed to shift it and change it and balance it out a little bit more?
Another presidential question. Right, so I think resources are coming into the township areas, in the rural schools, but how they're used effectively is the problem.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a very big need for the communities and every individual to also take part.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to say it's not working, teachers not doing their work, but we are sitting at home and not doing anything. Yeah. But you can have time to say, I can volunteer my 2 hours a week and help a learner in maths. I can volunteer my 1 hour to say, I'm a professional pilot. This is the journey that I had to go through. Yeah. I stayed in a shack. Now I'm here. This is what I had to do. So you also can do it. Yeah. That thing, if one man can fly, we all can fly. Our communities don't have role models. And we need people to come back to our communities and do that.
So our pass rate was relatively good this year. However, from last year's matrics. However, not a lot of children actually made it to matric that actually sat and wrote those exams. How are you at Ikamva Youth inspiring students to stay in school, to get educated?
Make education fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at a state where learners are going through so much, and we need them to come to Ikamva Youth, and Ikamva Youth is fun. So we do what is called edutainment. You learn by practice. We bring in a lot of activities that keep learners wanting to do more, wanting to do maths, which is the most dreaded thing. So working with online tools, working on your cell phone, reading on the cell phone, because learners don't read, but how do we get them to read? Put them on a cell phone. Wow. So trying to get all these, there are a lot of tactics that can be used to make education fun, but also the other part is just to bring in young people to also speak to these learners.
It's such a good point, because it's all in the narrative that these kids then change their perspectives. I interviewed the first black female Vice-Chancellor for UCT, and she obviously she is amazing. And she has done so well, with maths and science. And I said to her, how is it that you were able to do so well? And she said, when she was a young girl, her narrative was that maths wasn't hard. She was told that maths was her easiest subject, because you can go back and check your answers. So you would know whether you were right or wrong. So I think with a lot of these kids, their narrative needs to change. Their stories that they're telling themselves need to be different to inspire them to, to believe that they can pass and they can do well.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think also they have to practice.
Yeah.
Maths there's nothing else more than that. You've got to practice for you to be better at it. Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing. Growing up, my mom always used to say, change your narrative, change the story you tell yourself, because what you hate will grow up and hate you too. So what you give is what you receive, and a lot of people are giving back
money.
We're hoping for it to love you back. But a lot of people at Ikamva have become these shining lights, have become mentors, and have been able to go back into the community and say, hey, look, I did it. You can do the same thing. What have been some of the special success stories that have come out of Ikamva that just have you feeling so good?
Right, so I think this year is our 17th year in existence. We're in over 17 branches in the country, and we have had over 2,000, almost 3,000 matrics right from Ikamva Youth.
Amazing.
And over 85% of those learners have passed matric. We have placed over 70% of these learners into post-school opportunities, because that's very big for us. We want to pull learners from poverty to have a dignified living. And it's not just about grade 12, passing grade 12, but the question is, what happens after?
Are they employable?
Are they employable? And where do you go? Do you just apply to university, or what are the other pathways that you do? And over 70% of our learners have been placed. And our numbers keep growing, because we always have learners that go through our program and then come back and also be volunteers. And also the government that has been working with us very strongly in supporting in the township areas that we work in.
You know, the information that young people receive really does mold and change the people that they become one day. But Pali and I were discussing, you know, you do those little guidance counselor
the aptitude
tests,
career
Aptitude tests.
So I remember in primary school, when I did one, they said I must become a florist.
I mean, it's like, who writes these?
No, I mean, that's amazing. I bloomed.
Absolutely.
Well, we can see that.
Now, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all of the work that you do at Ikamva Youth. It is so, so vital. Thank you for looking after our youth. It's amazing. For more information, of course, on Ikamva Youth, it'll be on our website. Join us again after the break as we are back in the kitchen making really tasty lemon curd parfait.